Poetry is the ability to put into practice righting my wrongs in silent or in public, to express myself without bodily harm, to say how much I love something when my world is surrounded by the opposite of love, expressing how much I hate the filth of this world, the pain that makes me sick to my abdominal. Stories like Trayvon Martin and Sean Bell should bring revelations to why legends like Nat Turner and Larry Davis are considered my heroes. We know they stood tall before they fell, willing to fall for what they felt was right after they were tested and treated so wrong. And that consistency alone is what you will find in the meaning of my poetry. Poetry is the ability to open the mind to a brighter side of things, to listen to the God within as He allows us to write freely about pain by putting the flesh on ice at any given moment, using self-control and constant discipline. Poetry is sometimes over the top, mountain high, valley lows, full with harsh reality, personal issues, and low blows. Many can't bear the sight of raw spoken words, comfortable with nouns, but when it comes time to dig deeper, they choking on verbs. Cause it takes taking a deeper look in the mirror as the truth hurts and sometimes even burns. This is what poetry is all about. The hard way is how I always had to learn.
Became my best friend when I had nowhere to get away from these streets. Sat with me in hallways where the crackheads sleep. Kept me warm in the coldest winters. Thought I knew everything till she taught me I am just a beginner in life's trials and tribulations. Poetry was my safe haven when it comes to ungodly situations. My meditation when I feel oppressed. Poverty swallowed and it's so hard to digest. At the peak of protest, marching to progress, covering my heart like a vest. May God be witness to our poetry as we confess.
We are all different and have lived different lives. Poetry wouldn't be poetry with a boundary line. Poetry wouldn't be poetry without showing both sides of the gun line. The art of poetry is millennium years old like ancient gold, destined to be discovered on a long journey traveled away from home. Finding self in the midst of windstorms and pouring rains, washing away teardrops as some get used to the same old pain, the same old game from the same old same. One of my favorite sayings is a true wise man learns from the mistakes that those around him made. Instead of him falling victim and becoming another statistic in the system, the lessons shine bright like a fresh light bulb in prison, giving him the ability to see new heights and visions without reaching the point of coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I believe poetry saves lives in multiple cases, not like the sacrifice by Christ, but more like no longer wanting to live the street life minor or major. So finding hope in rhythm and rhymes in front of an audience, breathing truth into a mic gives clarification that I wasn't born to die in a shootout or a crack house. Shows not all boys, the men in the hood will eventually receive life's bids. Not all African American men neglect the positive direction they realize needs to be taught to their kids. There's still a large percentage of poverty with hopes, big dreams, and reason to live. The depth of this art I love has caused passionate lust. Fascinated by how magnetically my delivery spoke to a broken heart through a verbal touch. Though poetry doesn't fully restore my trust, sharing common grounds by crossing paths in the dark. Seduction from a beautiful mind and size 9 hips. Her smile lit the room even though I felt her soul was so dim. Along with this bottle of gin, we loved, fucked, and enjoyed each position of sexual sin. And then, when we were done, we went our separate ways because neither one of us were built for a relationship outside of interlocking poetry. The depth of this art sometimes takes a hold on me, but I'll die without it. Rather die with it, as well as thanking God I have a part of it. My partial definition of poetry to be continued.